Yep, back for more. So are we. So are you. So are the dogs right outside my office door, and one's on the floor. There you go. Hey, everybody. Dan here on Drum Talk TV with Terry Morton, who I'm excited to have on to talk about a really awesome product that I remember. Well, first of all, welcome, Terry. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I remember telling everybody when you first started working on this. And I remember I don't remember if we were on the phone or a Zoom call. This had to be 10, 11, maybe even 12 years ago, because we were still based in Las Vegas and we've been here in Arizona for 8.5 years. So this is like a long time ago. This is probably 8 grandkids ago for me. That's how I measure time now.
Awesome.
And I remember you were describing it, and it was sort of at the time for me, because it wasn't actually like, I think you were still working on a prototype actually. When would this have been? What does that sound like? When would that have been?
About 2014, 15,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
So yeah, our second or third year. So we are
Yeah.
talking like 9 or 10 years ago. And it was kind of for me, it was sort of like, I know what you're saying, but like, because having been a drummer for longer than I want to admit, because I should be a lot better than someone that's been playing 55 years. Oops. But playing live for years and touring and playing all over LA and Hollywood, and then recording a lot with bands, being a session drummer, being a producer. I was used to what we used in those days, the 70s to the 80s and a little bit into the 90s on bass drums. But what you were describing was sort of like this other thing. And then you came out with it, and now you've since developed it. And we're talking about the KickTone. And I want to show everybody a picture of it first. And and by the way, folks, Terry's also the owner of KickPort. He bought KickPort a while ago, and he made the KickTone separately before then. And now, Terry, you can explain, like, I'll zoom in, how the KickTone can be mounted on a microphone stand, which we'll see Victoria explain in a video in a moment. But this is mounted right onto this thing that you showed me at the Las Vegas Drum Show. And we'll talk about that encounter and what went on. But this is really cool how this thing just slides on there, just slides off, so that you don't even need a desktop type microphone stand or a boom stand or anything like that. Talk about that and
Sure.
how you thought of that. It's so convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, the kickport was something that I used many years ago, and I knew Sammy, who was the inventor of the kickport, and I've always been involved in sound, and I've been an engineer for a long time,
And you're a drummer.
yeah, and I'm a drummer. So the two collided, and wanted to create something that I wanted, right? So the idea was to make a microphone that would attach to the kickport. It basically covers the whole hole. And when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're forcing all the air that's in the chamber of the drum into that microphone.
Right.
It's got 2 drivers in that microphone. It's got a 57 capsule and a woofer. So the woofer is, like a sub kick, a Yamaha sub kick is the idea, to get that low
Right.
end, larger diaphragm. And then the second was to get more of the attack of the beater. So both of those drivers are summed to one output. So one XLR out. It's a dynamic mic. You got one channel, and right off the bat, you just plug it right on there. It makes it really easy, really fast for engineers to EQ it, get it going. And it sounds great. I mean, because you're getting the best of both worlds, right? You're kind of getting the
Yeah.
standard mic and the sub kick in one solution.
So, folks, I'm going to play a video, courtesy of Victoria. It's a third-party review, someone who never saw it before and used it, and she's going to play it and record with it. And depending on what you're listening to, no matter what you're listening to this, you probably will not get the full effect. But she explains it really nicely. And if you have earbuds, press them in. If you have headphones nearby, put them on. Sounds great. And I've heard this in person, and I've heard it in a very noisy room, a showroom floor at the Las Vegas Drum Show, March 30th. And it sounds amazing. So we'll play that video, and then I have some questions. We'll take questions if people want to ask questions about what are some instances this would be used. Now, I've got some other use questions as well, but check out this video.
My name is Victoria Seagriff, and I'm here to try out the KickTone microphone.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Oh yeah. Alright, on first grab, it's definitely way lighter than it looks, which is exciting because a lot of kick drum microphones, I have the issue where you put them on the stand and the stand sinks. So it's exciting that for how big it is, it's definitely not that heavy. I like that if you have the KickPort system, you can just hook it right on. Overall construction is really nice. This is cool, being able to adjust where it sits on the stand and have some stand flexibility to have better access to the XLR point. I like when a kick drum microphone is naturally well-rounded. I like when it's full-bodied and has a little bit of attack, but isn't too forward in your face. I find that a lot of kick drums themselves resonate not nicely in the 500 to 700 hertz range, so I like when the microphone will naturally attenuate that for me. It's so good, truly. Like, I had 2 microphones on my kick drum before, and out of the box, no processing whatsoever. That one is doing what my completely processed 2 were doing. So would totally recommend. This is by far one of the best kick drum microphones I've ever used.
That's cool. She makes 2 really great points. One, of course, the last point she made is a huge compliment. Out of the box, it's without processing. It sounds like 2 mics that she used to use through processing. But the other thing she said is that you're not overwhelmed by the attack frequencies, because you get too much of that and you lose the sound of the drum, and it sounds like what we hear in a lot of speed metal triggers. And there's a place for that, but if it's not what you're looking for and you want to hear the sound of the, everyone, the youngsters these days call it a kick drum. It's a fucking bass drum because it has bass tones and it's the bass end of the percussion section of the drum set. So it's nice to get the bass tones with this microphone. How many iterations did you develop until you got it to where this is it, we're going to market? And then how has it been changed since then?
That's an excellent question, and more than I can really count.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I started it as just a sub kick, and it did develop into something more. We started trying different drivers, tweeters, all kinds of different things. You know, everything on that mic has been tried over and over and over, from the strength of the magnet to how loose the spider is, and um, the cone, like what's that made out of? We started with a hemp cone. Now we ended
Right.
up with a polycone.
Oh,
Yeah.
what
So
was the
it's
difference in sound? Was it more, was the hemp cone too rigid?
that the hemp
It
cone
didn't have
actually
the res-
sounded really good.
Yeah.
The problem with hemp is it's kind of expensive, but
Oh,
it's gritty, it's thick, it really promotes low end, so it sounded great with a hemp cone. And a polycone was kind of something a little bit less expensive, didn't take 5 weeks to order, and
right.
and sounded very comparable to the hemp. So
Cool.
we were pretty lucky to find that. So yeah, it's gone through a lot of innovations, and today we're still making changes to it. We actually are releasing a version 2 of it, um, and yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the way that it came out.
Cool. How are you seeing it being used as far as genres of music? I mean, obviously rock, rock drummers, but are you seeing people applying it in different ways to different styles of music and different types of sounds?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people use it in crazy ways that I never thought of.
Oh,
You know,
really?
and people don't even always use it on the drum. You know,
Oh,
I toured with a guy who used it on the bass rig. You know, he
oh,
blended it with the
wow.
DI, and it sounded amazing. You know, when we did our little thing at Sweetwater, they had a full band up there, and we used the KickTone on everything: floor toms, bass drums, bass, piano,
Wow.
and it was really cool to see that.
Interesting.
So yeah, all kinds of music. Because everybody's different. All drums are different. Some have heads, some don't have heads.
Right.
And when you saw Victoria's video, you saw she was using it on a stand. That sounds great on a stand. I particularly like it on the kickboard, but the idea is to make it as versatile as possible, and so people can use it however they want.
That's cool. What does it retail for?
It maps at 299. So
Okay.
Sweetwater, Guitar Center, all those places.
Oh, great, great. That was my next question. That's great. Um, do have you ever considered having let me ask this. Was there enough of a difference in the sound you got from the hemp cone to have a different model that simply is more expensive and maybe more exclusive, that there's not as many made, that not you don't have to carry as much inventory, but was there that much of a difference of a sound to warrant that, or did this new cone really cover it?
Yeah,
No
I
pun
mean, it's a good question, but yeah, I think the polycone that we have in there really does the job, and it's very comparable to the hemp. So I don't think we need something,
great.
like that. Um, you know, and I don't know if we're going to talk here about the Kicktone Pro, but our
Yeah.
newest version of that
Yep.
mic is kind of the step up from the Kicktone. It's about to hit the market here any minute.
Yeah,
Um,
talk about that. What are some of the biggest technical differences and then the price point as well? And then for both products, after that, please compare both price points to what people are used to seeing, on the market from
yeah.
other brands.
Sure, sure. So the Kicktone Pro is, the same format as the Kicktone, although it is a active dynamic mic, so it does require phantom power. It's got a much larger board in there, and it has features that the Kicktone doesn't have. It has 4 features on it, so it's got 2 toggle switches, one for a high pass filter and one for a 15 dB pad.
Oh, wow.
It has a boost potentiometer, so it's kind of like cueing, the sweet spot of the drum. And then the last is the blend knob, which if you
Oh,
have it all the way one way, you can turn it into a sub kick. As you bring that up, you're adding more of the attack to the
yeah,
mix.
that's cool. So people
So
can really nail their sound with it, it sounds like.
right, right. Really, the idea is to give the drummer just a little bit more control. you
Mhm.
know, it's not
Yeah.
all in the engineer's fingertips. Uh,
And I was going to ask that, but first, I was going to ask about engineers, but price point, where's it at, and how do both compare to other mics on the market that people might be familiar with to say, oh, okay, it's like better priced or price like that, but does X,
right,
Y, Z.
right. Well, there's really nothing like it out there,
Right.
so there's nothing that I can really compare it to.
But for what
Um,
what people are used to using on their bass drums is what I mean.
right.
Like if they're
So
going to go to a studio, they expect to see, and then what the price point's like. Because if I remember right, it's less or than a lot of popular, we'll say popular kick drum mics.
definitely, it's for the pro, we're talking 399 map, so $100 more.
Okay, so it's only
But
100
you're
bucks more.
you're getting a lot for it.
Yeah,
And the idea is that you're replacing having to use many mics. You
right.
got your in, your out, your sub kick. You can get all this in just the one mic.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what kind of response are you getting from engineers that are using it in studio or live situations? Do they not know what to do with it, or is it the opposite? It just does the work for them?
No, I mean, it is something that's new and that's hasn't been seen before. So
Which means
yeah.
there'll be some freak out moments,
Oh yeah, definitely
right?
a lot of skeptics out there, and that's
The
fine.
traditionalists, yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. But once somebody uses it and tries it, everybody comes back and says, "Wow, this is not what I expected. This is really cool."
That's
Definitely
so cool.
love it.
Yeah, that must be very gratifying.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
cool. So for those who have been under a rock for many years, let's tell them about KickPort. I'm going to show this image first. If you're not familiar with the KickPort, it's modeled after basically like a ported speaker cabinet is kind of like also what it does to your bass drum. Um, and while I show some pictures, if you want, Terry, you could talk about the product. I'll show some. There we go, assorted colors and whatnot. But yeah, kind of
Sure.
explain the science behind that as well.
Yeah, sure, of course. So, Kickport's been around for, like I said, many years, probably 14 years or so. The idea is that you're focusing, the air that's building up in the chamber and releasing it, giving it a little compression, and really just enhancing the sound of the bass drum. So it's giving it a lot more punch, a lot more clarity. And for the price point, I mean, you're really getting a boost out of your bass drum for not much money.
Right.
uh, so we have the standard model, which is the one we're looking at, and then we also have an FX series, which is used for the smaller drums, the snare drum, the toms, the floor toms, and the smaller bass drums.
Yeah, and I want to chime in and tell everyone the FX series is on the screen, and in about when 2014, I think it was, or 15, 2014, I think is when we went to Charlotte and we worked with a drum line and did a little documentary, and they had these FX series in the top heads of the snare drums, and they were amazing. I mean, the sound of the drums were just amazing with these things in them, and they're about the size of, what are they, like 2.5 inches, something like that?
There's two of them that are 1 inch and two of them that are 2 inches.
And you could put this on your whole kit if someone wanted to. Now, I know there's a lot of people that will never want to try anything that has come out in the last 50 years, and that's okay. I respect that. In fact, I'll just mention this slightly, Terry. I'm not going to go off the chain on this, but I was mentioning to Terry something I'm like kind of hung up on is, why do people have to put stuff on their drum heads? Like gels and all that stuff. So I'm one of those people when it comes to that. But I've seen and heard this in action, and it really is amazing. And I've seen it on drum set heads as well. This is really cool. And then you've got these for the batter side of the bass drum.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll click through again, and there's a lot more colors than this now as well. You can go to, it's kickport.com, right?
That is kickport.com.
Kickport.com, and pick out your favorite flavor. What are some of the other colors? If I remember right, isn't there like a what I would call an electric pink? And I
There
think,
is.
yeah,
And
there's like a
an
real
orange.
vibrant, yeah, orange, a lime green, I think, or something.
We're working on the green and the yellow.
Cool. Yeah, very cool. So whatever your style is, they've got that. But these are great. And do people ever put these in like a cajon or anything like that? Have
Well,
you seen
funny
it?
you should ask. We do have a cajon port.
There you go. Cool.
There you go.
That was
And
not staged, folks. I really didn't know that. Or if you told me, I forgot. It just, to me, it makes sense, because of what it does.
yeah. So it's, the hole's the same size, so it fits in there perfectly. And then of course the KickTone fits right onto the cajon and it sounds great. I have a friend who has a cajon company called Drum Nest. Um,
Right.
and
We visited
Ryan,
with him. Yep. At the
yeah,
Las Vegas Drum Show. Great product line.
great product. And he's been using, the cajon port and the mic and demoing it
Oh,
and just
maybe it
loves
was
it.
there and that subliminally was stuck in my head. Did he use it there?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Yeah. Interesting. When does the KickTone Pro come out?
It should be out in less than 2 months.
Oh, okay, that's right around the corner.
Yeah,
That'll
I mean
fly by.
the product's here. It's actually already just getting assembled.
Great. Great. Assemble the SKU stickers and you're set.
Exactly.
That's great. You'll have to come back on when you've got some of those out and you've got a neat video that'll demonstrate that, because those features are cool. The blend feature makes so much sense because that's where you can take it to exactly, the sound you want, blending the actual beater sound to the body of the drum.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the questions we get asked a lot, especially at trade shows. People are like,
Yeah,
"Hey, how do we do this?" So we
that's cool.
listened.
Yeah, I can only imagine how either of those sound on, like, I've seen and heard a KickPort on a 16-inch bass drum, and it's like you'd never know if you weren't looking, you'd never know it's a 16-inch bass drum.
Totally.
As it is, you pick those things 2 inches off the ground, mount them up off the ground a bit, and they sound bigger. But with a KickPort in it, it was like a 24-inch bass drum. It was killer. So cool. What else do you want people to know about it, other than, of course, where to get it again, in case people missed that in the beginning?
Well, everywhere, really.
Great.
Sweetwater, Guitar
Sweetwater.
Center, Alto, American Music Supply, lots of different smaller drum shops.
Great. Are they available in Canada at Long and McQuaid?
They are.
Great. Great. What's different about the Canadian version? Just kidding. Hey, for those of us who just joined us, and I'll check comments in a sec. For those of you who just joined us and may have missed it, I'm going to show a video again that's a really cool review of the product where a young lady unboxes it. She's explaining it. But if we go to comments, Tricky Basis says, Benyamina Ihib. I'm pretty good with pronouncing non-English complicated words. Let me take another step. Benyamna Ebile. I think that might be where they're watching from, because we have a question that always says, tell us where you're watching from. I'm watching from Globe, Arizona. Where the heck is that? It's 100 miles east of Phoenix, up in the mountains. Terry's in California. At an undisclosed location, so they don't kick him out. But let's check that video again. This is really cool. For those of you who might have missed it, here's Victoria.
My name is Victoria Seagrove, and I'm here to try out the KickTone microphone.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Oh yeah. All right, on first grab, it's definitely way lighter than it looks, which is exciting because a lot of kick drum microphones, I have the issue where you put them on the stand and the stand sinks. So it's exciting that for how big it is, it's definitely not that heavy. I like that if you have the KickPort system, you can just hook it right on. Overall construction is really nice. This is cool, being able to adjust where it sits on the stand and have some stand flexibility to have better access to the XLR point. I like when a kick drum microphone is naturally well-rounded. I like when it's full-bodied and has a little bit of attack, but isn't too forward in your face. I find that a lot of kick drums themselves resonate not nicely in the 500 to 700 hertz range, so I like when the microphone will naturally attenuate that for me. It's so good, truly. Like, I had 2 microphones on my kick drum before, and out of the box, no processing whatsoever. That one is doing what my completely processed 2 were doing. So would totally recommend. This is by far one of the best kick drum microphones I've ever used.
Awesome. Awesome product. Can't wait to see what you crank out next after the KickTone pro. Like, do you have some stuff up here in the mad scientist lobe of your brain of some other things you want to develop?
There's some things kicking around up there.
No pun intended. That's cool. Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
You'll hear
folks,
about them soon enough.
good.
You'll
Yeah, I was
hear.
just gonna say you'll hear about them, and they can follow you on social. There's a YouTube channel,
Yeah,
and
KickPort TV.
right, got to check that out. And go to kickport.com if you have questions. And we would also love to hear from you. I'm sure Terry would if you get it and you use it and you want to show it off. Submit videos at drumtalktv.com. In the upper right corner, it says video submissions, conveniently enough. And we'd love to show off your drumming with the KickPort and the KickTone. Check it out, folks. Terry, thanks for taking time on a workday evening. Appreciate it very much. And congratulations. Like I said, I go back to sort of the Fred Flintstone days of this product. When you were just sort of, I think you started with, like a shoebox and a magnet and tissue paper or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think that was pretty
the
much
first
exactly
model.
what I had. Yeah.
Cool.
Really, Dan. Hey, I appreciate everything. Appreciate you having me on the show, and everybody
absolutely.
listening. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. You've done a great job as an entrepreneur with it, and looking forward to seeing where it all goes. And folks, thanks for joining Terry, Morton, and myself of KickPort International with the KickTone product, owner, innovator, and thanks for following what we do. Lots of great stuff happening on Drum Talk TV and in our membership site, drumtalktvbrilliance.com. We are so close to a couple really big announcements that I've had a few people just tell me, you guys shut up about that. You can't say it yet. So I can't say it yet, but stay tuned. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can sign up for free, a free level membership of our drumtalktvbrilliance.com site. And you'll find out some really interesting stuff there first. So thanks everybody. And we'll see you soon. Terry, stay on the line with me. And thanks everyone. Appreciate it.